友们，欢迎回来，继续收看《对话好莱坞》。So Kelsey, let's keep talking about 12 Years a Slave.
All right, let's do.
How was that experience like? Such a grand production.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't know what I was walking into.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure that we knew what type of impact it would have for audiences. I always say that I think the greatest thing that came out of that film, besides a very nice Academy Award.
That's quite nice.
You know, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. But I think that what was most powerful about it is that it sparked conversation. I mean, it's never easy, simple to talk about slavery, to talk about the history of this country in terms of African Americans, and I think a lot of people avoid it because it is uncomfortable. But that movie made people talk, whether you liked it or whether or not you didn't. I mean, there's certainly people who couldn't take it or they felt like the violence was too much, even though it's significantly toned down from the actual autobiography. But I think that there were lots of sit-downs that might not have happened had the film not sparked that conversation.
Right. So why do you think it's important to shed light upon like such a sensitive issue like slavery?
I think because we dodge it far too often.
Right.
It's always been important to talk about. It's always been important to acknowledge. I think that's one of the kind of sore spots that some people of color still hold, is that it's not really acknowledged as the sin that it was.
Right.
And so asking a community of people to gloss over it or to get over it is not only offensive but hurtful, because we are woven into the fabric of this country, of the birth of this country. And I think acknowledgement is often underestimated, but if we could really truly understand how powerful that is, that would be the beginning of the healing that we're so seeking.
Right. So, and how did the production take the controversy around this film?
Well, on set, I mean, no one knew about it yet. So afterward, I think it was an individual thing in terms of the creative heads and in terms of the actors, but it was really just about seeing how, you throw a pebble into a pond and the ripples go out, and so you just kind of watch it happen. It's all going to be natural and organic.
Your whole outlook in this show, right? It was so beautiful. You had this grand dress. Like, did you have a lot of fun?
I did. It was
playing with makeup and dress up.
Hot.
Yeah.
Well, see, we shot in New Orleans in July.
Right.
And so I think and so my typical outfit was pantyhose, pantaloons, petticoat, dress, shawl, and hat.
Jeez, there's so many layers.
Outside in the middle of the summer in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And so I remember the moment I got cast, because I tend to run hot. I don't know, maybe this is a Southern thing. I carry fans. And so the second I found out I got the film, I stopped drinking anything hot.
Okay.
I stopped eating anything spicy, having any kind of pepper. I was drinking because I knew I was going to be hot anyway. So I was trying to kind of bring my body to a place where it could be its coolest possible before I stepped on set. And it kind of worked. It kind of worked. There were moments where, it just happened. But I think that's probably the coolest my body temperature has been in years.
That's so funny. I cannot cut spicy food out, like, to save my life. Seriously.
You will if you think you're gonna sweat on camera.
Exactly. But don't you just don't they stop the set and pat you and powder you?
But that takes time away from production. I mean, time literally is money on production, and you don't want to be the one they're waiting on, or waiting on her to stop sweating. You don't want to be that one.
And what's like the biggest challenge that you faced on set for 12 years?
For 12 years, wow. The biggest challenge I faced on set was actually the final scene when he returns and welcoming him back into the family, back into freedom.
So emotional.
And so, and that emotion was the most difficult thing because shortly before filming, I had actually lost my mother. So I don't think I had yet really grieved. And so my default when I'm upset is to shut down. But Anne needed to emote in that moment, and so I had to try to find a way to give to her what she needed as a character and as a real person so that I could really pay tribute to her and to this family. And so I just had to sit with myself and talk to my mom. In my trailer, I had a blanket that she had quilted for me before she passed, and we just had to have some conversations before I went on set. I had to ask her to allow me to give over my emotion to this moment so that I could honor that. So that was actually the most difficult.
Oh my goodness, I just got goosebumps. That's insane.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry about your mother.
Thank you.
I know
Thank
she was
you.
your biggest inspiration while
Yes.
growing up. But then it really, that role in 12 Years a Slave, and also, I mean, the Academy Award, aside from that, like, that was a huge stepping stone in your career,
yeah.
right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was thinking about her when we were standing on the stage and they were handing over the award and Steve was giving his
made
speech.
that happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also, by the way, I love you on ABC's How to Get Away with Murder.
Thank you.
That was
Thank you.
wonderful. And I was working with Viola Davis. I mean, she's like
is.
so intense and fierce.
It is as amazing as you think it could be.
Right.
She is such a master craftsman. I mean, she just understands, and she by sheer by giving what she gives naturally as an actor, as an artist, you up your game.
Right.
You can't be across from Viola Davis and then like phone it in. Like you just you find yourself being better because she brings that out in you. Yeah, it was amazing. It was lovely. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Yeah, and she's a lovely person too,
Right.
and I think that matters. Sometimes when the cameras turn off, you find different people. But but Viola is a very special spirit.
So how is she on set though? Like, was she like really aggressive, and was she like really controlling? And, you know?
No, absolutely. The exact opposite. That's what I'm
Exact
saying. Like
opposite.
that's, I mean, I loved her as a character before
Right,
I was on
right,
the show,
right.
and now I have such an affinity for her as a person. So yeah.
So what are some of the challenges you faced playing that role? Because you were, you know, in the jail cell, and you had a son, and then you were a loving mother, but then you had all these struggles that you were going through. So how was that emotion? Like, how did you, you know, get that going, prepare for this role?
You know, I actually love playing characters who don't have everything together.
Yeah.
I think it's, I find such joy in exploring what it is about their lives that they're trying to overcome and kind of like being in that place. So I enjoyed that as a character. But then for Rose specifically, there was the accent because she's Haitian.
Exactly.
And again, she also had to do quite a bit of emoting, and I was still kind of on that journey too. But the accent was definitely definitely a challenge.
Right.
I certainly didn't want. I wanted to do it well. I didn't want anybody to, you know, hit me up on social media saying I hadn't. So I worked really hard on it and worked actually with a dialect coach who actually is Haitian. So that way I made sure. I mean, because obviously dialect coaches are able to give you kind of like the tenets of an accent and tell you, well, okay, for this consonant, this is how it's said, and for this vowel, this is how you draw it out. But I just kind of wanted to literally get that kind of coaching from a Haitian, and so I think that made the difference for me.
Right, and did she go through line by line, like how to say each one, or you figured that out on your own?
Yes, and it was a line by line, and it was and on my own kind of work. Because the thing is that when I was shooting it, I couldn't tell anybody about the plot.
Yeah.
So when I reached out to someone for help on the accent, I had to like take the lines of the script and then
Mix it up a little
retype them. Well, retype them in a document and not use any character names or anything, and say, listen, I need help with this project. I can't tell you what it is. So it was a little bit of cloak and dagger too.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't imagine that. And to act in the whole new different accent. I mean, like, it was so believable.
Thank you.
Right?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Really
That's very
good.
nice to hear.
Yeah. So, and on True Detective, we're moving to True Detective.
Yeah.
You're a completely different person, like super
Yes.
sassy, and just like, you know, like don't really care about anyone else. I don't know. I don't care if you get this job done or whatever. Like I really don't care. So how
And
was
they
that?
weren't
Like,
being
where did
truthful.
yeah, exactly. Never really truthful. But like, how did you find it within yourself to, you know, be in that character?
You know what? That one was actually difficult as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
My mother was an English professor,
Okay.
and so enunciation and proper grammar, like that was really important in our household. And so that's just who I am now as a person. So for that particular character, where she's not necessarily enunciating and she's got a bit of an attitude, actually a lot of an attitude.
A lot of attitude,
a lot of an attitude, you know, I actually wanted to make sure that she came across not only as genuine, but not as a caricature, you know, because it's really easy to say, oh, okay, I'm going to play the hood chick. And I didn't want to play her, you know, right? And I didn't want to play her. I wanted her to actually be like a real person. And this is actually where Atlanta helped out, because I knew a lot of her in high school. And so I tried to.
Well, you're nothing like her. So.
I tried to flash back to some of my people in high school, like, I remember
I actually used to talk like that back in high school too. Like we had a lot of ratchet chick too. No, I know exactly what you're saying. You were a lot like that. That's why when I met you in person, I was like, oh my God, you're so classy. Like that's so different from like True Detective,
True Detective, right,
yeah,
exactly.
So you had to like, you know, relate it to back to, you know, the people that you met.
Right, but again, I wanted to give her enough, dimension that it wasn't like, I was playing, you know, what this kind of image that's perpetrated, but is not necessarily based in any depth, you know, or any backstory. So it was important. The same way I wanted to honor Anne, the same way I wanted to honor Rose, I wanted to make sure that she was honored as well.
So I feel like you always kind of give a backstory to your characters, right? You kind of do them justice, like you know, like what made them to feel this way, and not just like, okay, she's like this, I'm gonna, you know, do exactly that. Right. Is that your technique?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, because it's easy to just, I mean, anybody can recite lines. Right. And that's not acting or fun. Right. You know, that's just, you know, that's oration, which is a whole other profession and great, but not what I'm in for.
Exactly.
So yeah, I like to make sure that they're actual flesh and being human beings before
I really do feel like you give a lot of soul to your characters.
Thank you.
And so right now, I mean, you're such a great actress, and what are some of the works that you're working on right now?
Well, I just finished doing the Simone Biles story on Lifetime. So and that aired in February, and that was a really great piece to speak to Simone's story. She came out of the foster care system because her mother had some issues with substances, and that's who I played. I played her biological mother. And so she ended up being raised by her grandparents, who she now calls her parents. And I have some experience with the foster care system, and it's also kind of one of my it's one of the things that's closest to my heart, reaching out to foster care kids. One of the charities that I am an ambassador for is called Kids in the Spotlight. And what they do is they go into foster care facilities and they teach the kids how to write and act and direct their own films, their own short films. So it gives them a creative outlet to be able to talk about the things that are bothering them that sometimes they can't sit across from a counselor or even another person and talk about. So I was really proud to be a part of that project, but also because it's something that's close to my heart. And so there are a couple of other things like in the hopper that I can't necessarily talk about in this moment, but
I know you were script reading yesterday, right?
Yeah, I was. There, we're still kind of in pilot season now, what they call pilot season. So a lot of the new shows are coming out and they're still casting, and so I've had some really nice experiences in the room lately. So hopefully something like that will come to fruition. I'd love to. I think one of the things that's most appealing about being a series regular is that you get so much time with the character. You really get to develop, you really get to develop and grow and find out all the kind of the different pieces of the person or their lives. So I would love to have the opportunity to do something like that with a character, to just really get my hands dirty and spend some time with her. Yeah.
Definitely. And also, like, if you could pick any character, any role, or any genre of television series or movies or whatever, which one would you pick? Like, what kind of role that you haven't really, like,
what's my dream role? Wow, that's a great question. I could pick, it would probably be dramatic. I tend to lean toward drama, though I love doing comedy. So it would probably be dramatic. It would certainly be someone who is clawing at life. Like, it's fun to play the doctor and the lawyer and people who wear uniforms who have it all together. So if I had a uniform or that type of profession, it'd have to be someone in that uniform whose life is the complete opposite of that. Like Professionally, got it all together. Personally, a hot mess. You know what I mean? Or on the complete opposite spectrum, somebody like a Rose who, you know, doesn't even have the benefit of having, you know, that 401k or that, you know, or insurance, but it's really just making life happen. I like to see what happens when you throw a lot of obstacles at a character and they have to succeed anyway. The show must go on.
Right,
so life must go on.
You know what I really want to see you in?
What?
Black Mirror. I really want to see you in Black Mirror so much.
I love that show. I would love to do Black Mirror.
Me too, seriously.
We're going to put that in the universe.
Yeah.
Let's put that in the univerce. Black Mirror.
Let's get the
yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
The law of attraction.
Absolutely.
Right?
I believe in it, so let's do it. Yes.
Thank you so
and I'll
much,
thank you
Kelsey.
for it when it happens.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be watching like, that's Kelsey. We told her that she could be on Black Mirror.
That's right. I love it. I love it.
Thank you so much, Kelsey.
Thank you.
好的，那以上呢就是我们今天对话好莱坞的全部内容了，感谢大家的收看，我们下一期同一时间再见了，拜拜。
Bye bye.
I never knew them Tuttle people, but I heard stories. No, thank you. You think she might get some money out this?
Quite possible. Depends on what we find out.
The rest of the family, they don't really talk to Auntie. She crazy. Dementia. She never had any kind of good life, but most days she can't even make sense.
Yeah, she sure made sense to me.
That should worry you, mister.